We have got playoff soccer next week, and we've got Francis Stevens and Chris Black here with us to break it down. We've got all our brackets on the desk. Before we get into any of the matchups here, I think one of the confusing things can be, we've got all these teams, how did they wind up where they are and why? So real quick, before we get into anything else, how does seeding work in each of these divisions?
Well, obviously, back in the day, we had to go to the old-fashioned vote in the room, and sometimes you had to, maybe get your feelings hurt if something didn't work out that way. But
it sounds like a lot more fun than it really is.
Fun. It was way better back in the way that now. But obviously now with Balm's page being a big thing, they're utilizing that more and more. So basically, you go put your profile in, quality wins, maybe some losses, your D1 versus D2 and D3 record. Everybody gets to vote. Vote comes out Friday at 3 o'clock, and then basically everything's all done electronically. You get to see what your votes were by every school, and that's basically how you find out where you're going to be seated at before you put yourself on the bracket that following Sunday.
They know where they're seated at. And when I asked you which matchups are you most interested in, quickly, you both have the same answer, and that answer is?
Yeah, it's not the first round, but it's what leads to the second round. And there's a lot of different ways and reasons for building your own bracket for your own team and where you want to go. And the big one to us really points out early. St. Francis against Perrysburg on the Division I boys side will be very, very early. Into what is the second round, first round game for Perrysburg. But Perrysburg won the board first. St. Francis then added in almost like a play-in game. But throw that idea out because there's so many reasons why you want to do a play-in game. So you really have a hard time judging people for that. But that's going to be really early. So that little thing right there, one team moves, opens up other areas in the bracket.
Yeah, so if you're one of the teams on the lower side of the bracket, what are you thinking when you see that?
You're probably like, oh man, this works out pretty well for us as we get a home game, and obviously Northview, St. John's, Springfield, that's the site. Springfield is going to be a host site, so Springfield gets potentially 2 games on their home field, and obviously Findlay and Ashland, 8 and 9 seeds, they get home games as well too.
When we look at Division II, the team that stood out to you is Bowling Green at the top of that bracket.
Josh Fox has done a tremendous job this year. Bowling Green plays in a very, very tough conference in the NLL, and they're going to be going into the Division II tournament, very battle-tested, and have had some really good games against some really quality teams like an Anthony Wayne and a Springfield and Northview and Southview. They're not a team that you can kind of run off the field, but I tell you, they've had a really, really big year this year. Very old team, 2 very athletic guys up front, really good organized backline. Josh Fox, for me, I think he's a favorite to win a Division II district title for the first time, and hopefully see Bowling Green in the regional level here in 2 weeks.
So that is Millbury. In Division III, Chris, I think a lot of people did what I did when I pulled that up, which is looking for where is Ottawa Hills.
Yeah, usually everyone's looking at where Ottawa Hills is. And yeah, so Ottawa Hills, if they said, you know what, number 2 can go wherever they want, 3 can go over 4, they're all going to go to the bottom bracket more than likely. But that being said, Ottawa Hills, first seed, so they're up top. And then you even look, Genoa, who's the 4th seed, they went high too, but then they took a play-in game, which was risky, but maybe their thought process, you know what, maybe we want to get an extra game in before we have to play Ottawa Hills. The interesting part is that bottom bracket, a very athletic evergreen team, and they're going to play some good soccer, and they've been difficult for some of the teams that really tried to play maybe some tactical and knock the ball around a little bit. Evergreen's going to give them fits.
The word exciting keeps coming up. Is it fair to say, when we flip over to the girls' side, that in the best way possible, in the most exciting way possible, Division I, Division II, Division III, it's wide open?
Yeah, and especially on the girls' side, I think for Division I, I think both Francis and I can have a lot of ideas there. It could go anywhere. You've got a team like Sylvania South that went on a really great run, and then they picked up again tonight against Northview, and then a team like Toledo St. Ursula Academy, we were saying, okay, just score 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's going to just explode. And then, of course, the heavyweights all season. Northview finally, have they been stressed about not tying us to someone? No, they have not. They've been happy tied. I'm kidding, because I've done the same thing with my teams, and they've tied a lot of games. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and that's kind of neat for the coaches too. Yes, of course, everyone expects Anthony Wayne to get through because they have been, but everyone has a shot in Division I girls.
Obviously, in my opinion, for D3, I think Ottawa Hills, Archbold girls, 2 of the top 2 programs in Division III. You've got to put them in those games right there. It's going to be interesting to see between those 2. Archbold's been very, very successful here the last few years. They've been in the Final Four quite a bit. Jim Kidder does a tremendous job with that Archbold side. But, Ottawa Hills has got some, that program has really come to fruition a lot in the last few years. They're starting to get more players at Pace Center, GTFC, those things like that. Will you make a prediction of who wins district titles in each? Or we can't do that. That's going to take too much time.
Sealed envelope, my friend. Sealed envelope.
Something to look forward to in future Sidekicks.